Welcome back to the Realtors. I'm still David Blair. He's still Treven Perez. Treven, where the hell have you been?
Hey man, I've been at Redfin. I
You
have to
have.
follow
Hey,
you.
congratulations. Congratulations. We don't have an applause track in here to make it a little bit louder, but I want to go ahead and officially welcome Treven to Redfin Nation. Actually, Redfin powered by Rocket as of July. Treven has come on to the company. You're in day what now, Treven?
Well, not as of July. So it's been, I think I'm at day 40,
Okay.
45, something
So
like that.
tell us what you think. Tell us how you like it.
Well, I think that I should reserve a lot of my opinion and critique and positive reviews after my 90 days. Let's do that. But overall, at this point, it's fantastic. We got the app that can defeat and be as strong, if not stronger, than our favorite punching bag,
Yes, which
Zillow.
is you got it.
Right, right. So they haven't been paying us our sponsorship dollars. So we're going to stop mentioning their name in these episodes as we've grown. So make sure you subscribe and follow because we're getting a lot of attention out there. Okay,
You
which
know,
prompted us. David started it. I followed his lead to come on board Redfin. So being a Redfinian has been really cool. Lots of activity in the market, lots of buyers, lots of sellers, and they want our help. So in this market in 2025, that is fantastic.
definitely. Yeah. So what a lot of people don't realize, well, we'll kind of explain to our audience. What a lot of people don't realize is that when you talk about Redfin and our model and how it works, if you're looking through our site, which is the number one, I think, largest in viewership brokerage website. A lot of people say, well, no, Zillow's like, well, Zillow's not a brokerage. Redfin actually is. Zillow actually takes their platform and they broker it out, no pun intended, to various real estate companies. So you're dealing with a lot of different agents that buy into that Zillow team program, whereas ours is directly owned and operated by Redfin, now Redfin powered by Rocket. So when you deal with us, you're going to deal directly with seasoned real estate agents like myself and Treven. For your prospective market, you can go on, click when you want to take a look at that property, and we'll show up, do a tour with you, and then talk to you about the benefits of Redfin. So how does that differ, Treven, from where you just came from? We don't have to say any names of previous companies, but as far as just the opportunities, I think I would say as far as the amount of opportunities that you have with Redfin and with our customer base versus some other real estate companies.
No, that's a great question. I think that the paradigm shift is turned upside down when you're looking at perspective of helping clients here at Redfin. At Redfin, it's purely all about how quickly can you get into the home as a customer to see the house. It's not about you getting slammed by an agent about a buyer broker agreement and about your pre-approvals and about the other four or five things that us agents like to make sure buyers know before we take them on a trip to see a home. So now here, it's all about where you want to go and when. You pick the date, you pick the time, and we show up. I like to refer to it as Uber, real estate Uber. It's on your schedule, not on ours. It's not about our availability. It's not about our family, our time, our kids, nothing. It's about your schedule. And what's nice is, even if I'm not available, but I've already toured the home with that buyer, I got a team of other agents who are supporting me to show that buyer homes.
Yeah.
So they get a little grace and a little wiggle room in dealing with the buyer broker agreement, so that we can, earn their trust and, which is like pretty cool, right? It's a buyer's market. Let's earn buyers' trust first. So that's a paradigm shift for me. I focused a lot more on listings, and those relationships with buyers were great. But now it's all about truly earning that buyer relationship from the start, and really being more of a servant, in the process.
Yeah, it's cool. I met a customer today, actually, a little bit earlier today. First time he selected a property that he was interested in. I gave him a quick phone call. We did a little, kind of rapport building, kind of asking, what his goals were, but nothing heavy. I said, I just wanted to kind of get some general ideas of what you're looking to do, and then we'll talk more at the property. So we had a brief conversation. Showed up at the property. He actually loved the home. Looks like something he'll probably move forward with making an offer on. And it was cool. Real easy to explain our process. Our process is pretty simple. Explain the buyer agent representation, some benefits that come with using our company. If you do what we call our sign and save, which you can save a little bit of money, you get back a 0.25% if you sign with us after the first tour. And then we talked about some of the benefits of using Rocket Mortgage, their incentives for closing costs that they're offering, rate buy downs. So it's really just a one-stop shop, I think. And this is not a commercial for Redfin, but I feel at ease talking to you about it now because I don't have to hide the fact that I'm with a great company and you're not, because now you're with the same great company. So it just works out. It just works out better. It works out better. I hid a lot of these things in the past because I didn't want you to feel bad because you worked for a lesser company and I was working with a great company. So it's a relief. It's really a relief to be able to just kind of talk about this and enjoy our company together.
Hey, I ditto that. Like I told you, I told our manager just yesterday, I said, listen, my sole goal is to gamify this thing, help a lot of clients, and at the end of the day, just beat David. That's
Yeah.
it. My goal is to help more clients than David can help. So if you're listening to this and you're in the Orlando market, holler at me on redfin.com. Look me up so you can help me beat that guy over there. Okay. Let's do this together.
But you're still the wrong way. It's
I did
still
it
the
right.
No, you're pointing off screen. I can look at you and tell. There it
No,
is. That's right.
no. To me, it shows this way, not that way.
You're looking in a mirror. You've got a cheap camera. I've got a good camera that does the whole reverse image thing.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. Some technical difficulties currently.
And by the way, customers, I can also serve the Orlando area. I don't, but I will make exceptions if Trevor's not available. It's only 2 hours away. I don't mind making the short drive. So let's talk.
Well,
Let's talk about the market. Go
before
ahead.
we go, I think that just a couple more sentences about the whole concept of powered by Rocket. Man, that has been pretty phenomenal that you're getting leads from traditional people shopping on redfin.com, but you're also getting people who are shopping on rocket.com. And oh, by the way, you're getting customers who are with Rocket, and then Rocket are forwarding them to us who are actively Rocket, you know, mortgagees. That's just amazing. So the credibility coming out of the door, walking into the door is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah. It's two huge companies, that made that agreement back in July to come together. They also, we haven't even gotten into the Mr. Cooper that where they purchased them as well. So that's part of our program. Our new, I don't know if I can. Maybe I can't disclose it. Our new title company is going to be rebranded. I don't want to reveal that name yet because that was something that we talked about in sales meeting within the last week. So our title company is going to be awesome as well, and it's going to be branded kind of as you would think. But we'll talk about that on the next episode. So how's your market? How's your market in Orlando right now?
I would tell you, outside of Redfin, I thought it was really slow. And technically, on some level, the market is slower. But because of the amount of activity, the marketing, the exposure, the buyer activity would suggest to me that the market is booming because I'm extremely busy, between buyers and sellers. So that's a good problem to have. How about your market?
Same here, really, and I kind of experienced that. So I came on with Redfin in April of this year, um, and we're both working on kind of our own business. That's probably the only drawback is if there is one to working with Redfin is that they do keep us so busy that it's hard a lot of times. Hard a lot of times to find time to work on your own your own book of business. But that's something that you and I've talked about it. I think when we're able to kind of get our feet up underneath us and learn all the systems that we have in place and are able to reach out to our former customers that we've served over the years, it's going to be that much better. Because I mean, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid here, but I mean, I just think what we offer on the listing side is unmatched. You know, it's affordable. It's fantastic marketing. It's more exposure than I think any other company is able to offer to their listings out there, which is why we are so busy, and it's why we get so many showings and so many opportunities. So yeah, the market here, it's still in that, depending on the area, it's still in that transition period. I'm surprised when I see properties. I've seen a couple this past week that were in multiple offer situations, which we haven't used that word in quite a while, but actually found a couple of properties that were in very desirable areas, were priced extremely well, and I think that's the key. And the condition was outstanding. If you're selling a home right now and your house is anything condition wise less than a 10, then you need to make some price adjustments. You know, I know there's properties out there that you can't go in and renovate and make them a 10, but you can always make those adjustments to the condition, and you do that in the form of price, basically. But yeah, I'm seeing good things. Big day tomorrow this week. The Fed meets. What's your gut tell you?
So we know that we're expecting the 25 basis points, which should already be baked into current pricing estimates that all the lenders are using. I'm going for half, 50 basis points. I would almost think and suggest that we should be at 75 to a whole point, because we know that Jerome Powell, the Fed Reserve, is behind the eight ball. You know, they haven't been ahead, strategically estimating where the market is. So, on top of that, politically, the administration is putting an elbow into the guy's chin, saying, "Let's do something," right? I'd like to see a big point, drop on the price, so that it'll make a really big dent in the end of fiscal year, right? Going into our holiday season, which is slow anyway. So just, can you imagine if we get a nice bump on the real estate activity during the major holidays, which is right around the corner, right? We got Halloween next month. We got Thanksgiving after that, then Christmas. So that would be an exciting way to end the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked at a couple articles today, and the thought process is that the percentage chance of them reducing by a quarter percent, I think, is 96%. There's a 96% chance of that happening, and then going as much as a half percent. I think those numbers fell all the way down to like maybe a 10% chance of that. And I think most people would agree that the last time the Fed met, we thought there were going to be rate cuts. There were certainly things in the job and with unemployment that the numbers were showing. Okay, typically if those numbers are where they were, then you adjust the rates, and that didn't happen. So I do, no conspiracy here, but I do wonder why that didn't happen last time. You know, I think sometimes that there's things at stake to where, they've come out, and Powell's come out and said, they don't give in to political pressure as far as making adjustments on the rates. There's a committee, I think, of 12 that make those decisions in regards to certain metrics within our economics onto whether they make that adjustment or not. But I do feel that we're definitely going to at least get the bare minimum adjustment now. And then they meet again, I think, in October, I believe. They meet again in October. So maybe that turns into a series of cuts. I can tell you right now that I know I've talked to mortgage lenders with Rocket, and rates have actually gone down in the last 2 weeks, just with the possibility of the Fed coming out and actually adjusting rates, which I think would go down even further. So I closed one a couple weeks ago, and they were at 5.8. So we were under 6. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
Right, right. Because the one thing we did not iterate, not to go back to the branding and the marketing sponsorship of Redfin, because Redfin has not paid their their agreement to sponsor this podcast. So, we have to limit how much of the praise we do here, right? So Redfin PR, come talk to our sales team, and let's get something going here, right?
Yeah,
But
have people call your people. Your
that's it.
people call.
That's right. But the important part about what you were just saying and why the rates were down was probably a BIPOC product, because we offer, because you're using a Redfin agent and you use a Rocket lender, we do have some additional savings in that mortgage that's applicable to you as a customer, and it's quite sizable. So again, call me.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at the stats here, a couple stats that we actually pulled from the Redfin site. So purchasing power has increased 7,500 in the last week alone. So we talked about that a lot last year with rates when they started to climb, and that was actually decreasing the purchasing power of a potential buyer. So it looks like, again, those are all positive signs. 7,500 doesn't sound like a lot in the scheme of things, but that was last week alone. So if we can kind of continue with that, 7,500 turns into 15 to 30 to 60 to 90, and we're starting to kind of make some progress with that. So I do see where sellers are definitely, I think, starting to get the message in regards to where we're at in the housing market. It's taken a while, and you do have some sellers that simply you can't make an adjustment at this time because of maybe what you paid for the property over the last couple of years. And for those sellers, I would say look at some other options. I never tell someone, well, you just need to keep lowering the price until you sell it. I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say look at the options. Do you need to sell right now? If not, then maybe you table that for a better time in the market. You look at where you purchased the property at. If it was in the last 2 years, you bought it high end. You have to understand that you're not going to be able to recoup all of that right now unless you've made some significant upgrades to that property. So maybe you look at, if you're relocating, maybe you look at renting the property out and stabilizing things that way. A lot of different things I think that you can do in regards to making that next transition as opposed to just lowering the price of the property. What would your suggestion be to a seller in that situation now, Treven?
Yeah, no, thank you. I was going to say that in those situations, I'm finding, to your point, if there's an urgency on time, it seems to me from my experience as of late with the activity I'm dealing with just in the last, 30 days with sellers, no one wants to sit on the market for 6 months. That's over. So, and 110 days or even 90 days is a struggle. So I'm even dealing with people who are dealing with being short sales and foreclosures. So what I'm finding and suggesting to people is, let's do a comparison and contrast. Let's say if you sit on the market for 90 days and you don't sell for your higher amount that you would like, what's the cost of you holding on to that property, continuing to make that payment, the utility, all that fun stuff? Even if you put tenants in, we know tenants is a crapshoot. I mean, it could go great or it can go sour. There's no guarantee there. So I had a tough conversation this weekend with a client, and I really like begged them to just please consider me a family member at the moment here. Let's have an honest conversation. If you don't sell, you're going to be foreclosed and you're going to sit with bad credit, like 500 or lower score for 10 years. Do you really want that? Because I told them the way my recommendation went, in order to close, they're going to have to bring money to the table. So do you bring 5 grand, 10 grand to the table, or your credit is shot for 10 years? Like, really, what's really the best option here? The easiest option, too. You can go get yourself a little personal loan from anywhere or family, right? So those are similar conversations I've been having lately, just about timing. Like let's take advantage now and let's do the right thing around price and around marketing. Which, kind of going back to Redfin, we got those two options. You get a lot of marketing with this and very little with that, but nobody is offering the kind of marketing. And I thought my last place was offering some cool stuff. The marketing is hands down really, 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 it's really strong.
Yeah. Well, I think too, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying with regard to those conversations with sellers right now, the, we used to say something very simpler in the hot market that we had, as far as, well, you can sell for this, and that would allow you to increase your price on what you're purchasing. Kind of the same thing here in reverse, which is basically, you know, are you going to get less for your property now? Probably. You probably are. Again, unless there are some exceptions. There are properties that you bought that were in lower than average condition. You made some improvements, and you can obviously reap the rewards of that. But if not, then you're looking at situations to where you're selling for less, but that if you're buying into that same market, then you can kind of recoup some of that on the buying side. You're not going to pay as much. And maybe if you bring money to the table in this transaction, maybe you bring less money into that next transaction to kind of save or kind of offset that. So you're not putting yourself in a bad position. That's just my opinion of it. So speaking of reverse, I have to tell you, have you ever heard of a reverse offer?
Well, David, of course I have. I've been doing this now for 10 years. I mean, my God. But tell
That's
us.
not what he said when we started this show. I'm just,
I
I'm
don't
just.
know what you're talking about, Dave. But
So
go back to what you did.
I actually got a reverse offer. So what a reverse offer is that's when you are showing property to your buyer, and you go out, your buyer looks at the home, they seem to like it, you give good positive feedback to the listing agent, but your buyer doesn't move forward with an offer, and could be for a variety of different reasons. Maybe it didn't check all the boxes. Maybe they thought, property's listed here, I think it's worth here, I just don't want to make an offer, I don't want to insult the seller in that scenario. So a reverse offer is when that seller is proactive and says, hey, you came and saw the property. You gave good feedback. You seemed like you liked it. Here's what I would sell it for. And they actually make an offer to you, from the seller to buy their property. It's a little out of the box thinking, but it could work in some scenarios, I think, because I think it could trigger some conversations to where if you're a buyer and you looked at that property and you did truly like it and it did check all the boxes for you, but maybe you just thought, it's listed a little bit higher on my higher end. I don't want to try to negotiate them down to a certain price. But maybe they come back and you look at that price and you say, hey, we're in the ballpark. So I think that tells you a lot about the market right now, in that we have made that shift into a buyer's market with some exceptions. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you a clarifying question then. So what you're telling me then is a seller is proactively showing their cards and saying, if I had the house listed at 400, in a reverse offer, they're telling that buyer, hey, if I were in your shoes, I would offer 390.
Exactly.
So you immediately let them know, hey, come back. Here's my bottom.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think pricing, so pricing is interesting right now. I see properties that are right on the cusp of probably getting offers if they would just make a slight adjustment. I never like pricing properties to where you're just over the closest 100 mark. So I'll give you an example. If you have a property that's listed at 300,000 and you think it's worth 300, but you're at 310, or 315, or something along those lines. Those half numbers, I think, are good measuring sticks to where if you feel, okay, well, I think the property's worth 350, but once you're starting to go below that and you're right there at that 300, I wonder if the benefit of getting more activity and possibly more offers would come to you if you were at 299.9 instead of hanging out there at 310, kind of in no man's land. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I I think my clients and just when you think of like lotto and scratch offs with numbers, I kind of like that 900 at the end of a property for whatever reason. If it's 300, then I'm saying, well, let's do 299.9.
Yeah.
Not 999. I like that 900 on the back end of it for whatever reason. It just it rings well. A lot of clients will say, this is my number. Let's add that to the list because it's like a luck thing. 7 is good luck. Let's throw a 7 in there. Whatever, right? Just as long as we're at the right price point we need to be. So I have been having that hard conversation, and I find that if my meetings go over an hour,
Mm.
then I know we're in good place. As I told someone, if I'm with you, I was with this last meeting on Sunday for 3 hours. Wasn't intended to be that long, but I said, guys, I'm leaving here. We're friends. We're doing business together, but this isn't this. We're not strangers. You know what I mean? We've proverbially broke bread, and we have a level of trust that's just above and beyond what this transaction says we have. Right? I have a true interest in your success. But yeah, I want to be as close to that estimated value number I gave you with a plan on coming down to spark marketing to generate activity, because unfortunately price isn't the only answer. We know condition and location, but man, price is driving everything with 5 and 6% with 6% interest rates. It's a challenge for buyers. So I like putting in the listing agreement some agreement that we're going to address pricing on a a scheduled basis. So it's not a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It's better, I think. I think sellers appreciate it. They like kind of knowing, kind of what's coming, and you're just putting a strategy together. Our job is not so much marketing. We deal with companies that do great marketing on the listings, but that's not necessarily our job. A lot of people kind of group us into that category of, what are you going to do to market the property? We're going to put it with our company that's excellent and has an excellent marketing department. We're going to expose it to as many buyers as possible. But that's not what my job is. My job is to guide you through the transaction, make adjustments when we need to, and make sure that you're responding appropriately to activity, to other agents when they're showing your property. I mean, I think sometimes I think agents can kind of miss out on the little small things that could get a house sold, because they're wrapped up in the big part of it. Okay, well, did I put it on? Is it on Zillow? Is it on Redfin? Is it on homes.com? Is it on all these sites out there? I want it to be on all these sites. When there's some small things that your agent can do for you, and that's just simply being on top of their game and on top of the listing and managing the listing correctly. When I get an agent that calls me, I mean, how many times have you gone out? We show a lot of properties with buyers now, so it's funny to me when I run into these properties. I did it the other day, and I put a post out on Facebook. I'm like, kids and pets are the top two reasons we're not selling real estate right now. It has nothing to do with the market. It has to do with kids, and it has to do with pets. I said, you know put your pet down for a nap, put your kid in the crate, and let me show the damn house.
Right.
And I said that because frustration, because there were four properties that I could not see that day, because, well, little Tommy has to take a nap at X, and the dog has to do this. And those are all legitimate things. I'm not criticizing any sellers that are out there, but those can be opportunities that are lost to sell your property. Whether you're getting 20 showings a week or you're getting two showings a week, you only need one. You need one buyer that connects with that property and wants to move forward with an offer. And if you miss that because of these little things like that, then you can miss some opportunities. So I think it's our job as agents to make sure that we convey to that seller. I can't stress enough how important it is for us to show the property. All that marketing and everything out like that we do, that's fantastic and great, and driving that machine of getting those buyers to the door, you can throw it out the window if we do all of that and you say, well, I had this appointment, so I really don't want to show it at this time. Can you tell them to come back this time? Maybe they come back, and you know what? Maybe they don't. Maybe they go to another house and they make an offer on that house, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with that said, boys and girls, we're happy to be back. We're happy to be able to share more real estate related news and topics. Let us know what topics you're interested in so that that guy over there, can stop with the funnies that are pre-production meetings. He's always trying to tell jokes. And so like, subscribe, connect with us, and we'll see you around next week.
Take care. See you next week.
Bye.